Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination, or maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are going to a destination restaurant of sorts. It's in Colonia in Puerto Vallarta. I've talked about it on the show a couple times. The restaurant's called La Tienda Grande, and the man in charge there's 33-year-old chef Salvador Carrillo. Salvador has a great story, and he even has a second restaurant, newly opened in Colonia, Versalles. It's called Masame. Chef Salvador has a wonderful story. You're going to love him and his food. Plus, I've just returned from 9 days of fun during the Dia de los Muertos festivities in Puerto Vallarta. We're going to talk about that and about my adventures this time down. But before we get to Chef Salvador and a little storytelling, let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, the 14th of November, 2022. The whales have been spotted in the bay. That signals the beginning of whale watching season in Puerto Vallarta. The whales migrate south to the Bahia de Banderas, of course, to mate and to thrill whale watchers from mid-December until the middle of March. But they're here a little early this year. So expect to see humpback whales breaching, slapping the water with their fins and tails, and having a good old time out there on the bay. Make sure that you book a whale watching tour through JR over at vallartainfo.com. Or, make sure if you're not going to at least book a tour, make sure you pack a pair of binoculars with you. That way you'll have some when you really need them. We really could have used them this last trip down. They were in my car. I looked at them, and I decided I wasn't going to take them. And I should have. It would have been really easy to do so. So anyway, I really love whale watching season. I'm sure you do too. And if you haven't seen one, you got to get out there and do it. Now, just remember that there are rules as to how close you can get to whales, who can actually approach the whales in the bay with their boats. You just can't hire a ponga boat to chase whales around the bay, by the way, so just beware of that. And now if you happen to be cruising along and a whale pops up in the water out of nowhere, that's not your fault, right? But bring your binoculars if you can't get out on the bay and see if you can see them from wherever you happen to be. Mask mandates have dropped in Mexico and in Puerto Vallarta. Last month I mentioned that Mexico's new Normality Commission had decided to drop all COVID vaccine mandates for employment. They decided that wearing of masks would be optional, except in certain circumstances. And, I was actually wondering how long that edict would take to trickle across the country. And to my delight, Governor Enrique Alfaro of Jalisco said yes to the new Normality Commission's advice. And so when I arrived in Puerto Vallarta, the end of last month and the beginning of this, I was very happy to see that there were no masks required. First of all, on the airplane from Tijuana to Puerto Vallarta, that was great. No masks were required on buses, taxis, or Ubers for that matter. The sanitary shoe washing trays were all gone in front of all the places of business, and it looked like normal, except for food servers and restaurant workers were still wearing masks. Hopefully that will end soon, I hope. So let's all raise our shot glasses and make a toast to the new normal. Salud! The Gourmet Festival International is on again, and it's going on right now. It's going to be from the 10th of November until the 20th, so you got 6 more days to enjoy that. Celebrating its 27th year, 30 participating restaurants welcome guest master chefs from around the world to team up with 30 top-tier Vallarta and Riviera Nayarit restaurants along the bay to bring you a taste from their part of the world. In fact, some of these chefs over the years decided to stay and start their own restaurants in Puerto Vallarta. The festival was the brainchild of Thierry Blouet from Café de Artistas and Chef Bernhard Gut from Trio Restaurant and Bar. As I said, they got together some 27 years ago and decided to start this festival. So go to the blog post for a link to the Gourmet Festival International, Puerto Vallarta, and for more details and a list of those 30 restaurants. You can find them over in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. The 5th annual Brewmasters Festival is coming back to Puerto Magico. They're going to be craft beer like crazy over there. It's going to be November 19th and 20th from 1 p.m. until 10 p.m. over at Plaza Puerto Magico. More than 100 varieties and styles of beer await you. The admission is free. Parking is free, by the way, if you go to Puerto Magico. There's going to be lots of great food. There's going to be entertainment, live music, and it's an event that's put on by my buddy Edgar Rivas, who's been on the show a lot. Edgar knows how to throw a party, so if you're going to be in town and you like beer and you like some good food, get on over there. I have a link to Brewmaster Festival Facebook page. They are in the show notes. Or just type Brewmasters PV in your search bar on Facebook or on Instagram. I have links to both of those in the show notes. Puerto Vallarta now holds the Guinness Book of World Records record for the world's tallest Katrina, and my wife and I watched as they put her together. I have pictures to prove it as well. They're in the show notes. Let me read. It says Puerto Vallarta has the tallest Katrina in the world. Breaks the record. It says here, Puerto Vallarta, we do have the tallest Katrina in the world. The Guinness record jury determined that due to its elaboration from the base with original details and features, the Katrina on the Malecon was always the tallest in the world at 22.6 meters. The record was delivered to Professor Michel, the mayor of Puerto Vallarta, and to the sculptor of the Katrina, Alondra Muca. The world record was announced by Alfredo Arista Rueda, representative in Mexico of the Guinness record, after the results of the measurements of the monumental Katrina, which met the standards and guidelines established to break the world record. I have pictures of that Katrina in the show notes, along with many, many other Katrinas that they had all along the Malecon. They had, they had one of Marilyn Monroe, they had Michael Jackson, they had Elvis Presley, they had a bunch of old cars, they had the Beatles, even though 2 of the Beatles are still alive. They had skulls and graveyards and lots of marigolds. It was beautiful, and check out the photos. I'll be getting back to those Katrinas when I come back and tell you a little bit more about our experiences on this trip down, just in a little bit. And let's see what else here. We have reports that 300 members of the National Guard arrived in Puerto Vallarta on the 29th of October to bolster security as well, and soon more will be deployed in Guadalajara as part of a national government plan to curb a recent uptick in violence in the state of Jalisco. Now, maybe this has something to do, maybe in part, with an assassination. The mayor of Puerto Vallarta, Professor Michel, had picked for director of CIEPOL. CIEPOL is the potable water drainage and sewage system of Puerto Vallarta. And Salvador Llamas Urbana was his name. And Salvador was gunned down with 3 others in Guadalajara on October 21st at the Sonora Grill over in the Lomas de Providencia neighborhood of Guadalajara. Now, Urbana was a very controversial pick for the water district position. He was also a very active member of the Moreno party. He was a big, heavy hitter, and currently in charge nationally in Mexico as well as in Vallarta. Urbana arrived at the restaurant in Guadalajara at about 5:30 in that afternoon with 3 bodyguards. He leaves them outside the restaurant, and he enters alone carrying a backpack, and he sits down, and he's joined by a couple of guys. The conversation ensues, and it starts to get a little heated. One of the guys leaves. Another couple, a man and a woman, come into the restaurant. They sit near Urbana. Then the woman of that couple gets up, and her partner reaches into a bag and shoots Urbana. And then the bodyguards hear what's happening, and they respond. One of the bodyguards was Luis Fernando Munoz Ortega, who is notable just because, he used to be the police commissioner for Puerto Vallarta. Munoz Ortega left his position 4 months ago in June of 2022 for health reasons, according to Reforma newspaper. He evidently then began working on the Llamas Urbana's personal security team soon after. And, Llamas was killed, as was one of the attackers. 4 others were injured, 3 of Urbana's bodyguards, and someone else's bodyguard. Lots of bodyguards were all around. That must have been bodyguard city over there. I'm going to tell you 3 guys there and 14 bodyguards. It's incredible. So in the end, Urbana, director of CIEPOL, Munoz Ortega, the ex-Vallarta police commissioner, and one of the assailants were killed, 4 wounded, 1 critically, and the backpack was gone. Very interesting. And shortly afterwards, in Puerto Vallarta, if you happen to live in the Cinco de Diciembre neighborhood where the mayor lives, you might have seen a heavy police presence on foot, supported by National Guard, because, here's another thing here from the Vallarta Reporter Online. Puerto Vallarta City Council has no budget to maintain its new police patrol cars. The person in charge of the municipal patrol cars said that all Mitsubishi patrol cars will have to remain stopped in order not to generate mileage, since their warranties require maintenance checkups after 10,000 kilometers, which they can't afford to do. The person said the order was to stop the new patrol cars, turn them off, and only drive them if they're needed for an incident. This means that the patrol cars are not carrying out their routine patrol routes. There is no police presence in neighborhoods by these vehicles. The number of military troops has increased in the city recently and is picking up the slack by performing the patrolling activities. This is not the first time the city council has been involved in this type of situation. In recent days, the gas station that supplies their fuel didn't want to continue giving it to them because of non-payment, but apparently they reached an agreement, and they continued to supply them with fuel. Another similar situation was after the purchase of BMW motorcycles, which were also stopped as a result of almost reaching the service mileage point. Okay, I have a link to that article from the Vallarta Reporter Online in the show notes, and you can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Of course, you must be a subscriber to access this info, so I am, and I did it for you. So there. So anyway, the military is picking up the slack. Nothing to worry about, right? But remember that we talked about cameras, and we talked about listening devices that are built into the lampposts in your neighborhood and in Vallarta as well. We've talked about that. From the Vallarta Reporter Online, here's another doozy. Many millions of pesos have been wasted due to the lack of maintenance of security cameras installed in Puerto Vallarta. It seems that the municipal authorities have authorized other things and have left aside security equipment, such as surveillance cameras. The Puerto Vallarta Citizen Security Commissioner has been asked how many cameras are in operation, how many are not working, and what's required to put them back to work. However, so far, he has not responded. When this surveillance equipment was in operation, the police made several arrests of people who participated in criminal acts. One such instance is the capture of those allegedly responsible for throwing grenades at the units of the Ex-Force Única de Jalisco near the Hotel Cristal Vallarta. Although there is good coordination between the municipalities of Bahía de Banderas and Puerto Vallarta, it's necessary that the video surveillance cameras be repaired and put to work so that security can be maintained in the port, since in recent days there have been recorded many robberies in various parts of the city. Puerto Vallarta Mayor Luis Michel is expected to pay attention to the situation and to provide prompt solutions so that Puerto Vallarta does not fall further into insecurity, since there are currently many cases of robberies of businesses and of houses. So there you go. There's that maintenance thing again. At least if you spark up a doobie on the Malecon, you might stand a chance, right? I mean, I'm not suggesting you do. You just might. Anyway, I have a link to that article from the Vallarta Reporter. Same disclaimer I used on the link before goes for this one as well. And you're welcome. So there you have it. Okay, on that note, let me get to our latest adventure in paradise. Now, you haven't heard from me for about a month now, and, well, over the last 6 years, I don't think I've ever had a pause of the podcast for this long of a time. If you've been following the show, you know that my wife, Debbie, rarely accompanies me when I come to Puerto Vallarta for a number of reasons. Mostly it's the animals. She's got doggies that she doesn't like to leave alone, but also she enjoys her time away from me, I'm sure. At least that's what she tells me. And the truth is that Debbie doesn't really have the same attraction to Puerto Vallarta that I do. And that makes me sad. She likes it, but she doesn't love it. I took her to Puerto Vallarta when we were in our mid-20s, when we first met back in 1984. And I asked her to marry me in a little restaurant on a hill on Calle Panama up in the Cinco de Diciembre neighborhood in 1986. The restaurant's not there anymore, but the memories are. The place is still there, but it's not a restaurant. We've spent time with the kids in Vallarta when they were little, but this time down, Debbie was coming down with me to be in Mexico for the Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead celebrations. Now, originally, we planned to travel with her horsewife. We named her friend her horsewife because my wife has a horse, shares a horse, I guess, with her. And so, we're going to go with the horsewife and the horsewife's husband. But that plan fell through when their dog sitter couldn't do their job. So the horsewife and her hubby dropped out of the plan. And the plan was to fly out of Tijuana via Viva Area bus to Puerto Vallarta and stay the first 3 nights in an Airbnb on the Malecon. Malecon Uno, right there on the Malecon. It's got an ocean view, rooftop pool. It's right next to the restaurant Vitea, if you know where that is. And then the 4th night, we reserved a room over at Hotel Maito Resort and Beach Club over there in Maito. The 5th night, we stayed at a friend's in their rooftop spare apartment in Cinco de Diciembre. Killer view. And then the last 3 nights, we had an ocean view room booked over at the Hotel Rosita. The Hotel Rosita is Vallarta's oldest hotel. It was built in 1938. I'd never stayed there before. In fact, I'd never even stepped foot in the Rosita before this. So it was pretty cool. It was a perfect location right at the mouth of the Malecon, at the north mouth of the Malecon, where you could watch all the action and participate in the action for Halloween, the 31st of October, and for Dia de los Muertos, a couple days later on the 2nd of November. So if you've been following the show, you know that my wife, Debbie, and I work together. We're realtors in Los Angeles, in the LA area, I should say. And without fail, when we're ready to go somewhere, work picks up and things get really, really, really busy. So a week and a half before we were scheduled to fly to Puerto Vallarta, we opened up our 3rd and 4th escrows of the month. Now most of the things that we do can be done remotely, but the jobs like opening up houses for inspectors and electricians and plumbers and all that kind of stuff, that needs to be done by somebody, and that preferably be us. So we moved really fast to get those done before we left for Puerto Vallarta. Now, last month, the first week in October, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Debbie went in for her scheduled mammogram, and a couple days later, she got a call from a doctor, and they said that they found something of concern, and they wanted her to come in for a biopsy procedure, which was pretty scary. So a couple days later, she was told that the small tumor was cancerous, and then we had an appointment with the surgeon the Friday before we were scheduled to leave for Puerto Vallarta. So then when we got there, the doctor told her that she was going to do what's called a lumpectomy, where she would remove the small tumor and then enough of the surrounding tissue to where there would be what they would call clear margins. So in other words, removing all the cancerous tissue around the tumor with clean tissue on the outer surface, I guess you would call it, of the lump that they cut out. And so they also take out a lymph node, a lead lymph node, which is under the armpit, to check to see if it's cancerous. And then she said that she had tentatively scheduled Debbie's surgery for the following Wednesday. And that was the Wednesday that we were scheduled to leave for Puerto Vallarta. So we looked at each other and then at the doctor, and we said, no, we can't change our plans. We're going to Puerto Vallarta that Wednesday, and we're going to be gone for 9 days. And how do you feel about rescheduling that operation for when we return? And so the doctor looked a little disappointed, but she said the tumor didn't seem to be aggressive or fast-growing, so she said she'd schedule Debbie for her operation 5 days after we came back from Puerto Vallarta. So knowing all that, with that information, we decided to make the most of our trip. We left for Puerto Vallarta on the 26th of October, and we got back on the 3rd of November. Debbie had her surgery on the 8th, 6 days ago, and I'm really happy to say that her operation was a complete success. Small tumor, about the size of my pinky fingernail, was removed with clear margins. Yay! And they staged it at stage 1 cancer. The lymph node that they removed was cancer-free. Yay again. And we were told that just can't get much better results or better news than that. So for the last 6 days now, Debbie's been on the mend, and the surgeon did a fantastic job. Debbie finally let me take a peek this morning, and she's going to be just fine and better than ever. So we're going to be meeting with her oncologist to talk about radiation or chemotherapy in a couple weeks from now. But in the meantime, we've been, working through work. Got 5 escrows now, just closed 1 yesterday and 2 today. So, we're down to just 3 escrows. Anyway, I just spent the last 2 days helping a client pack and move an entire garage and 3 plus 2 bedroom home into a storage locker. I'll talk about that one day. Don't do that. Don't do that. Anyway, fun times. And, I've been doing a lot of cooking and cleaning and, doing my best to keep up the house and the business. And it's been a little difficult to, get, an episode out, if you know what I mean. It takes about 8 hours to produce a single episode, which includes posting the blog post. So I've been a little busy, a little overloaded, so to speak. And finally, just now, have been able to get out this episode. So one of the joys in my life is to have time to create and to post an episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I mean, that really makes me happy. So now I'm really happy, okay? And that's the reason. That's the reason I've been pretty quiet over here. Aside from posting on the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show Facebook and Instagram pages, I've been pretty busy, and it's family before hobby, always. So sorry for the delay in getting out this episode. We're going to try to. I'm going to try to do a whole lot better. We're not out of the woods with this breast cancer thing. I mean, we'll most likely have a daily radiation kind of a regimen going on for about a month. Who knows? And who knows what's going to happen? But it was quite a scare to think that I might be losing my wife of 34 years to breast cancer. I asked Debbie what I should say. What should I tell my audience about what she's been going through? And she insisted that I tell the story so that, maybe we could encourage others just not to miss a scheduled mammogram. So, ladies, make sure you get your screening every couple of years and catch it early, like Debbie did. And that's the story. So the last episode, I mentioned that I'd be interviewing Kika and Ernesto and Sonny and Dr. Mitch from the Friends of Isla Quale from that project. And I was teaching myself, a new editing program so that I could pull off that episode. But I'm going to put that episode aside for about 2 weeks so I can give myself a little bit more time to work out the kinks. So my apologies for the delay of that particular episode. Stay tuned. It's a very informative interview. I was also going to talk about AMLO's pet project, the Tren Maya, but we're going to do that next week, okay? Now I'm going to do a really quick recap of our trip before we get to our interview with Chef Salvador Carrillo of Restaurant La Tienda Grande in Colonia in Puerto Vallarta. So for the last 2 years, I've been flying to Puerto Vallarta from Tijuana using a facility built on the border, actually right up against the wall that separates Mexico from the U.S., from San Diego. And the facility is called Cross Border Express, or CBX. The facility is built right adjacent to the Tijuana International Airport. So you pay to cross over the wall and into the Tijuana Airport. You can drive down and use their parking lot, or you can take one of the many buses or vans or charters from the LA area, or California for that matter, over to this CBX facility. Like I said earlier, our plan was to drive to the Mexican border from our home in Simi Valley. It's about a 2.5-hour drive from our house, and we were going to pay to park over at the Cross Border Express. We made plans to get there at least 2 hours ahead of time to check in and catch the 8:45 in the morning flight, which was going to be arriving in Puerto Vallarta at 1 in the afternoon, Vallarta time. So, well, let's just say what happened was we missed our flight. And it wasn't because we were late, because we were on time. But the immigration line at 6:30 in the morning looked like the line at the Matterhorn at Disneyland. It was not moving. Rumor was that the computer was down, and the line was it was moving painfully slow. It took 1.5 hours just to clear immigration. And by the time we cleared customs, our jet had already pulled away from the gate. I mean, that's just the way it went. So we were lucky that we didn't have any luggage that we had checked in, that was flying away without us. So that was at least one good thing. We walked back over the wall, back to our car in the parking lot in San Diego. And we weren't alone in that. I'd say about 20 more folks missed their flights that morning. It was a sad walk back over that bridge. Anyway, it was time to regroup. We had to get to Vallarta. So first things first, sat down in our car, had a big drink of water, smoked lots of weed just to calm down, I mean, how bad could things really be when you come to think about it? It was early morning. We have an airport right across the bridge with, 4 Mexican airlines flying all over Mexico. Somebody was flying to Puerto Vallarta, right? So anyway, I looked at my phone, and the airline that we were flying, which was Viva Aerobus, they had no other flights that day, but I saw that Volaris did, and so I started thinking about all those other folks that missed their flights, and I figured I better hurry up and move fast. So I told Debbie that I'd be right back. I ran back over to the Volaris ticket counter over at the Cross Border Express facility, and I asked if she had 2 seats to Puerto Vallarta for today. She said yes. She had seats for the flight leaving at 3 p.m., arriving in Puerto Vallarta at 8 p.m. Vallarta time. For only $230 each, you could go to Vallarta, she says. So these were one-way tickets. And since I already had the return trip booked through Viva Aerobus, I took the seats. So we regrouped, we recrossed the bridge, and we arrived in Vallarta 7 hours later than expected, and a little lighter in the wallet, but we made it. And there were also folks that missed their morning flight also on board with us too. We caught a cab to our Airbnb, which was a condo. Like I said, a condo on the Malecon Uno. On the way, I asked the driver if he would take a little detour to my buddy's place where he had my bag of crappy cartel weed all ready for us. He even pre-rolled a bunch of them for us. So there, I was so impressed. Gracias. You are such good friends. Anyway, you know who you are. You're much appreciated. If you remember the last time I was in Puerto Vallarta, there was a shortage of the weed. That was really bad. I should have give you all the weed warning before I did that. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you have kids in the car, what can I tell you? I mean, it's legal almost everywhere. Anyway, it looks like they solved their supply line issues in Puerto Vallarta, and thank goodness for that. So on our way to the condo, we passed by the Malecon. We saw the giant Katrina sitting there on the ground in pieces, just waiting to be assembled. And that skull was huge. It was big. We arrived at the Airbnb, and it was perfect. It had a big balcony, had a lovely view right there of the Malecon. It was right next door, like I said, to Vitea, right across from where the food stands are, where they set them up right there, just right near the Naval Museum on the Malecon. It's actually one of my favorite condos to stay at. And we had 3 nights there. Then the plan was to drop off our bags at my friend Ann and Gordon's place over in Cinco de Diciembre after we checked out. Then we packed our day packs for an overnight trip to Maito. Then we returned that next evening to Ann and Gordon's, and we spent the night there. And then we spent the last 3 nights, like I said before, in the Ocean View room over at the Rosita Hotel, where we had front seats and were able to experience Halloween night. And then 2 nights later, Dia de los Muertos. I mean, it was a really good plan, and everything worked out just as we had hoped. I have a video of 3 of the 4 places that we stayed, and you can find them in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com or on the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show YouTube channel. You can find them there as well. As for Ann and Gordon's place, well, I have to tell you, it was absolutely beautiful. And I want to thank Anne and Gordon so much for being so kind and hospitable and allowing us to stay at their cool apartment. Wow. It was one of the blessings that come my way when I do this little podcast. I mean, I meet the nicest people who become friends and do the nicest things for you. It's really nice. Thank you, Anne. Thanks so much. Oh, and we met some very nice people this trip down, people who were listeners to the show, and they stopped and they said hi. And that reminds me also, I have a bunch of emails that I need to read, and I'm going to do that next week. So, hey, please, look, keep those emails coming, and I'll get back to you soon if I haven't already. And I truly appreciate each and every one of those emails. Except for the ones that tell me, Barry, shut up, you're not a doctor. Barry, you're killing people. You know, those guys, you know what? Just give it up. I need to read some of these unhinged emails to you guys. Whew. Anyway, I mentioned before that I promised my wife, Debbie, that I'd keep my interviewing, my recording for the podcast down to a minimum this trip. It was a prerequisite, in fact, for her coming down, and that was that it would be a vacation, and that the work that we would be doing would be our real estate work, and we'd be doing it in the morning, and then relaxing and eating and drinking and walking, and lots of walking. And I promised her that I'd only be doing 3 interviews over that 90-day period. And she was satisfied with that, I think. We had our teeth whitened by Germán Lomeli, my favorite dentist in Puerto Vallarta, over at Perio Dent PV. We visited with JR, and we visited with the Muffin Man, visited with my buddies on Isla Quale. We danced and drank a lot over at Andales almost every night. Debbie loves Andales. We were invited to Encanto by my friend Tony Kenneth. He does a show there with Diego at the piano bar. And, you know, the food was really good. The show was excellent. We really had a good time. A little air conditioning. It was very, very cozy. Debbie loved it. Then 2 days after we arrived, we watched them assemble the giant Katrina for the Book of World Records. And then also, all along Malecon, the hotels and businesses and organizations, different sponsors of these other Katrinas that they had set up all the way up and down the Malecon. I have pictures of some of these really cool Katrinas in the show notes as well. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. You can also find it on the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show Facebook page, where I did a lot of posting there. What else? We really enjoyed ourselves over at Yambak, Brewery Tap House over on Abasolo. We had breakfast over at Lapa Lapa, over at Meño's Place, at Cuates y Cuetes, at Vitea, at La Banqueta, Tacos de Birria. I mean, we had some good food. What I did notice was that my wife had to remind me that we had to eat. And that's kind of the way I operate. Even though we rarely had 3 square meals in a day, she was actually the one that was urging me and us to eat. So I got to watch what I do when I come alone. I guess I got to eat more. Halloween night was a madhouse. The Malecon was packed. People were walking almost shoulder to shoulder. We were walking so slow. They had parents with their little kids, with their little bags, hoping to get some candy. Now, some of the shops were handing out candy. Occasionally, you'd see a brave man or woman break out a bag of candy and start passing it out, in the crowd, and only to be swamped, just totally swamped by the crowd. And once they caught on what was happening, and that is kind of crazy to see. It was a bit of a madhouse. My wife wanted to get involved in that kind of thing too. But before we left the room, over at the Rosita Hotel, I have when I come down, I always have this big bag of pesos, coins, and Debbie grabbed the big bag of pesos and said, "Let's hand these out." And so down she goes, and I'm looking at her like she's crazy, and she says, "Come on." So I said, "The minute these kids catch on what you're doing there, it's going to be trouble." So she didn't care. She said, "Just reach in the bag, grab a handful of cash, and stick it in their little buckets." So anyway, I was right. I started feeling hands in my back pocket, which were empty, of course, but my wife said there was a girl dressed like a nurse who was all over me. By the time the kids did catch on, the pesos were gone. So it was an interesting experience. I'm not going to do that again. Anyway, we saw Humvees. We saw open trucks stopping on Avenida Mexico and just like starting tossing bags, fistfuls of candy to the crowd that were surrounding the cars. It was kind of crazy. That reminds me, pissed off taxi drivers. I need to talk about pissed off taxi drivers. I'll talk about that next week. We had a bunch of them. Anyway, we walked all the way from the Rosita to Olas Altas, and then we ended the evening, where, at Andales. So that was fun. The Halloween night was a blast. We spent Dia de los Muertos with our very good friends, Debbie and Ray from Alberta, Canada, now residents of Colonia Pitial. Thank you, Debbie and Ray, for joining us. We ate and drank over at Restaurant San Lucas, where I actually performed my last interview of the trip with my friend Emily Murray. You're going to be hearing that great interview in a couple of weeks. We caught the tail end of the Dia de los Muertos parade because, well, we were hanging around over at, San Lucas, kind of drinking and eating and having a good time, and just didn't notice the time passing by. But that parade had horses and riders, and oh my goodness, it was just amazing. Then we all headed back over to the Rosita Hotel to hang out on the balcony of our room there, drank some beers, partied, and watched 2 different fireworks shows from that balcony. We had a private show with a couple of caballeros on horseback right in front of us. They were like, their horses were dancing to loud music. It was pretty wild. So there was so much that we did. And you know what? We're going to need to wait till next week. We're going to talk about our stay at the Hotel Maito and much more, including some observations. So we'll get to that next week. Would I come again for Dia de los Muertos in Puerto Vallarta? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely. Okay, let's get to our interview, shall we? One of the things I love to do is cook, and when I'm at home, it's a passion for me. But when I'm in Puerto Vallarta, my passion is to try other people's cooking. I was introduced to La Tienda Grande by my good friend Jeff Musto. Jeff is the PV kid in Puerto Vallarta. He does rentals for condos and stuff like that. Anyway, Jeff drove me out to Ixtapa one morning for breakfast. Actually, come to think of it, Jeff mentioned La Tienda Grande at one of our meet and greets some time back. So he wanted me to check him out. And since that first visit, I've gone back to La Tienda Grande almost every time I come to town. And every time I do, I bring a friend or two. And every time we're just blown away by what's on that menu. I've never been to dinner there yet, but there's still plenty of time for that. And, well, anyway, finally, after chasing Chef Salvador Carrillo for almost a year, I've actually, talked about chasing him around for a year over on this podcast. I finally caught up with him this trip. He was actually one of my 3 interviews that my wife actually allowed me to have. And the timing was perfect because Chef Carrillo just opened up his newest restaurant in Colonia, Versalles, called Masame. So see, Salvador, it was worth waiting. Anyway, so how do you get to Ixtapa? Well, I mean, you might be asking, isn't it Ixtapa and Zihuatanejo? No. We're talking about Colonia Ixtapa in Puerto Vallarta. It's a few miles inland from the airport. An Uber from Andalays to Ixtapa will run you about 150 to 200 pesos, or about $7.50 to $10, depending on the time of day. The distance from Olas Altas is 19 kilometers, and again, depending on the time of day, the trip will take you between 35 and 45 minutes. So it's not hard to get there, really. So let's just go right now to Colonia Ixtapa and to the corner of Juarez and Hidalgo, Juarez 172, and let's meet Chef Salvador Carrillo of restaurant La Tienda Grande in Colonia Ixtapa and restaurant Masame in Colonia Versalles, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Salvador, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Barry.
Tell me about yourself. You're from Ixtapa.
That's right. I'm a pata salada, as people tell everyone that is living in Vallarta or born in Vallarta. So technically, I was born in Puerto Vallarta one day on 1989. So, but all my life, I grew up with my mother and grandparents in Ixtapa.
So tell us what happened. I mean, Ixtapa is a little bit away. It is a colonia, right? It's one of the colonias here. And there's over 100 colonias. But it's probably one of the furthest away, isn't it?
Yes, it's one of the farthest one, before Las Palmas or something like. But let me tell you something. I think this is important for me to show off because not many people know this. Before Puerto Vallarta became a city, Ixtapa was an industrial place, and it was the most important around in all Cabo Corrientes, because many people around Cabo Corrientes and all the location, they used to come here to work. We used to have this huge company called was a plantain company, Montgomery one. So they used to sell and import and export plantain and bananas all over Mexico and United States.
Oh.
So it was an American company who provide employees a huge amount of money to the Ixtapa and Vallarta, or, well, in that time, Puerto Las Peñas.
Right. So that was even before it was Vallarta. That's really
exactly
cool. Wow.
Because in that time, Vallarta, Puerto Las Peñas, or the beach location, there was nothing. Used a bunch of houses and some fishermen trying to make a living there.
Yeah.
So technically it was the poor location here.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And now, of course, things have turned around a little bit. But what is the main part of commerce that happens here? What do you export out of Ixtapa?
At the moment,
yeah.
I think probably many not formal businesses happening around, but many street food, some other trying to make a living with some clothing sales or conventionary stores.
Uh-huh.
At the moment, there's not happening many things because, let me say, 80% of the people who live here work outside Ixtapa.
Right.
Of course, Puerto Vallarta, zona hotelera, all the hotels and restaurants there, Punta de Mita, Sayulita.
So this place empties out during the day, right? Everybody goes to work.
For now.
Yeah, for now, right? Because things are coming their way. And we're going to be talking about La Tienda Grande. We're going to also be talking about your new restaurant. What is the name of the new restaurant?
Masame.
Masame. Okay, and that's in Versalles.
In Versalles, that's right.
And that's just brand new, yeah?
Yes, 2 months so far, 2 months.
Wow, fantastic. All right, so we'll be talking about that. But let's talk about you. I mean, you're coming from Ixtapa, which means that you were one of those guys that won't go work out there in Vallarta, right, or Punta de Mita or whatever.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, cooking. Where did that come from?
I think I started cooking since I was maybe 8, 7, 9 years old. I'm not sure. I never wanted to become a chef because I never knew that was a career, to be honest. Yeah. But I was always cooking with my grandma at home. So in that time when she was alive, she used to sell food from home. So every Saturday and Sunday, she put all the stuff out and the pots to sell gorditas, enchiladas, and tostadas.
Okay.
So, and I was there. Yeah, I was a kid and trying to play with my friends, but also I was there cooking and eating delicious stuff. So after many years, when I was 15, 17 years old, I discovered this career in the university here in Nuevo Vallarta, Nuevo Nayarit, the UTBB. And I said, okay, that's a culinary arts career. What is that? Sounds tasty. Why not to try it?
Sure, right. Well, that's fantastic. So you went to culinary school. So you didn't like cut your teeth like in a restaurant in like a big resort. You actually went to school.
Yes, I went to the school. Even at the beginning, my mother, my dad didn't want to because they say cooking was for women.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a macho style in a Mexican family.
Understood, sure.
So in that time, I told my father, okay, I'm going to start studying architecture or something like that. And they believe me. So he helped me at the first semester. But after that, he realized I wasn't studying that. So
wait a minute. Did you get home? Did you get in trouble? What happened, Salvador?
He technically told me, if you want to study that, you're going to pay for that. And I said, okay, I'm going to try it. So I got the scholarship, all the career. I become the best student with the best grade and all this. Yes, I was like a library rat or something.
I bet you were.
No many social interaction, but yes, I didn't pay a penny for the school.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, so even though he said you're going to pay for it, it didn't happen. You didn't have to
because
pay for it.
The school and the government pay for all this. So.
Well, they saw your skills, right?
They saw my skills and I think my progress. I think I learned a lot.
Yeah, you had a lot of intention. You wanted to learn.
Yes, I really wanted, so I got it.
Excellent. Wow. Okay. So then from there, where did you go?
From there, I was a guy by myself, and I didn't have that enough money to travel. I stayed in Vallarta. So I went to the best place I knew it exists in that time. So, and still, to La Leche. So when I finished, or I was about to finish the university, La Leche opened in 2008.
Okay.
So, and I went into it with Nacho Cadena and Alfonso Cadena, the chef. I told them, hey, I'm a student, but I want to learn, so give me the chance. And just like that, they say, okay, come.
Wow.
Okay, I didn't believe it. Even the school, because they told me, how did you got it? Okay, I walked into the restaurant and I asked for that. Yeah, but he's a star chef and a rock star and a businessman. How? I don't know. I just did it.
It was you. It was you, brother. That's why.
I asked for the chance and they got me.
Yeah. Well, if you don't ask, you don't get, right? You don't get. So how long were you at La Leche?
I finished 7 years at La Leche.
Wow! All right.
Yes.
So you opened that place and
I finished it.
And you finished there too, didn't you?
Yes, because I started in 2008 in December, and I finished in January 2015-16. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So then what?
Then what?
Well, wait a minute. Why did you leave?
The 1 million question. I didn't want to, but I say this is too easy right now, and I was 22 years old. 22 years old guy in charge of the best restaurant in the city, being executive chef. I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
I said it became too easy for me working my day by day. So I proposed to myself to do something different, to go somewhere where nobody knew about me, or I don't have any family or friends. So I want to start over with now my knowledge, but start over.
Uh-huh.
So in that time, I moved to LA to this Latino restaurant. Was okay. The guys there, my team was fantastic, but I didn't enjoy the city.
Hey, don't worry about it. I know. I live there. I'm trying to get out. Okay, I'm trying to get out.
And this joke that everybody told me, like, yeah, it's just near to your house. Like, near to my house is 1 hour driving, man. This is not near to my house.
Sure it is. Yeah, this is LA, man.
I know. So I stayed there for 6 months. I love the restaurant and my team, but I didn't feel that the city want me to stay. So I came back to Mexico. For me, I was thinking to get a 1 year traveling around Mexico and to know more.
Yeah.
This 1 year become only 1 month.
Oh.
Actually, 3 weeks.
Plans.
Because I got an offer from a restaurant in Dubai. So they sent me a message through Instagram.
Wow.
Inbox. Hey, I like your pictures, and we want you to come here and work with us.
So these were pictures that you were taking of food, like
all the dishes that I was working on.
Okay.
Exactly.
Excellent. Okay.
So my Instagram is only all about food.
Got it. Sure.
So
it is.
and they
I
got
love your
into it
Instagram
and they
page.
sent me that.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it.
So, really? So,
Yeah, it was weird. Totally weird. I said, yeah, sure, give me all the information and I will go. After 3 days, I got in my mail the formal proposal, the offer letter, the tickets from the airline. I said, okay, this is serious.
yeah, they really mean business.
Yes, and I wasn't attached to anything here.
It's perfect.
So let's do it.
Yeah.
And my 1 year travel become 3 weeks traveling and 1 month total in Mexico after LA. And then I flew to Dubai.
To Dubai. They want you to open up a restaurant, right?
Yes, at the beginning was a 6 month offer letter. So a 6 month place there to work in this Le Royal Meridian Hotel.
Okay.
Beautiful hotel, amazing. Well, everything is amazing over there.
I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after that, I met a German guy, I think. He was in late 50s. We matched in a coffee shop. Then we started talking about food. And after that, I asked, hey, what do you do for a living? Because you know many things. I'm executive chef for this company, but we developed new projects, and we are looking for a chef, but it's difficult this time. I say, why? Because the owner wants a Latino chef.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. For me, it was my last week in Dubai because my contract was finished. And I didn't want to stay at the hotel anymore, so I was planning to come back to Mexico.
Yeah.
So they were looking for a Latino chef, and I say, oh, that's curious because I'm Mexican. No way. We start talking more into the job. And I got this tasting proposal. I did it. They love it. And then, okay, the opportunity is to open a restaurant here in La Mer. It's a location near the beach. And you're going to be in charge. I say, okay. I take it.
Sure.
So
you're there.
Yes. My 6 months plan in Dubai becomes almost 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we don't make plans, right? You just can't make plans.
I make plans, or I try to make them, but every plan becomes a better idea after a few months, and I can change it.
Yeah. So when that was finished, you came back to Mexico, yes? Or what?
Yes. This last year, 2 years ago, during 2019, I was planning to open something in Mexico. So I didn't know what to open, but I wanted. I think it's time to open my own place. So I was started scratching some ideas. And writing or whatever recipes or use formal ideas. And the late 2019, my mother called me, hey, do you remember where this place, La Tienda Grande, is? And I say, yes. It's okay, now it's empty. They want to build some rent rooms or something, but maybe you want to do something there. I say, yeah, sure. I wanna take it and open a taco place. So my first idea for here, La Tienda Grande in Ixtapa, was to open a taqueria.
Now, you said that it already had the name La Tienda Grande. What was it?
Okay, to talk about this, I need to go to Ixtapa 1936.
Okay.
So, Ixtapa town in that time, everything was like Macondo from Gabriel Garcia Marquez in 100 Years of Lonely, right?
Right.
So this store was called La Perla, but Ixtapa town, at the end of the day, this is a rancho.
Right.
So people used to call it La Tienda Grande, used between locals.
Okay.
If you go into the history or Google Maps or whatever,
Right.
La Tienda Grande didn't exist.
Right.
But it was existing La Perla store in that time.
Got it.
So when she told me La Tienda Grande, this location was open, I said, okay, let me think about this taco place and go into it. So very early 2020, maybe January, I was start posting on my social media, hey, I'm going to open a place in Ixtapa. I didn't say anything else. And then 100 inbox. Oh, that's pretty cool. You're going to make a restaurant in Ixtapa. That's something new. People are going to come to Ixtapa finally. And I say, okay, this is huge pressure because I didn't plan it. So I didn't plan it and become something.
Yeah.
So I talked to my partner, said, let's do it. Why not a restaurant? And he was really nervous and afraid. No, it's not going to happen. No, Ixtapa, people are not coming to Ixtapa for anything. I said, okay, if one person come to have dinner, that person is going to be happy after that. So let me try it. Now it's 1 year and a half. We're still open, still with a lot of customers and clients, new recommendation. I think we're doing something good.
Yeah, you certainly are. I mean, I've been here for breakfast a bunch of times. I still got to get here for dinner. One of these days, I'll get here for dinner. All right, tell us a little about your menu. What? First of all, you use a lot of sauces. You use a lot of. I mean, they're creative. Everything that you have looks like a painting. I mean, you make your food look just almost too good to eat. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the menu, like the overview of the menu, is a background between Mediterranean techniques with, of course, Mexican ingredients. So the menu here at La Tienda Grande, it's something special that I want to create for the women in my life. So every single dish in the menu, it's something that I remember for someone that I taste before. For example, I have the menu here. Let me choose a dish to tell you something. Plantain package. In Spanish, we call it macho relleno. What is this? It's a corn dough mixed with a plantain dough, stuffed with black beans and lentil puree.
Wow.
Served with a tomato sauce. But what is the history between this? On 2015, I went to Brazil to a competition, a culinary competition. And over there, I met a really good friend called Gabriela Ruiz. She's an amazing Mexican chef also. And she cooked for me this small plantain package stuffed with the beans. But after that, the next day, I was traveling to Venezuela to meet my partner over there and to eat arepas and this stuff. So this trip, from this trip, I want to create this dish. So something between Gabriela and Gabriel. So was the Mexican plantain package plus the Venezuelan corn become this macho relleno in the menu.
Fantastic. Wow. So yeah, so the dishes, they have stories.
Yeah, almost every single dish has a specific history. Some other has a mix between histories. But this is it, like a storytelling between La Tienda Grande.
So your breakfast menu, is it standalone? Your lunch and dinner menus are similar? Is that how that works?
Similar if you're talking about ingredients and quality, but about dishes, they're totally different. The breakfast lunch menu with the dinner menu.
Okay. All right. So, what would you say on your breakfast menu is the most popular dish?
I think chilaquiles. They're. Wow, I don't know, man. I think many people are coming from chilaquiles because they're kind of different. We have mole chilaquiles, poblano chili, creamy sauce, flank steak and duck on it. But also some others are coming from the French toast that I'm making with skim milk cream plus berries. By the other hand, the birria taco.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the birria taco with this spicy tomatillo sauce is also pretty nice.
And what is your dinner menu like? What do you got on that?
It's I don't know. I always make my menus because I'm craving about something when I'm hungry. So you can find between salads, carpaccio, ceviches, or something raw, but also something very tasty like taco chino. I think it's the most popular dish in the menu, and I never change it from day one to now. Taco chino, it's a slow-cooked pork belly with a green tomatillo sauce and jocoque in a blue corn tortilla. The thing here, I think, is the jocoque. Give you a plus in the taco. First of all, because most of my dairy ingredients are made by my grandma.
Really?
Yeah, she's 96 and still cooking.
You're kidding. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Fresh cheese, jocoque, panellas, sour cream. She's the one making it.
Wow. All right, you guys. Did you hear that? Wow. His grandma's making the cheese here. Yeah. Unbelievable.
She's still powerful. For me, it's Sunday noon, and I want to go to get a nap.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. What are the toughest things for you running a business in this town?
I think the most difficult stuff that we faced was the fact that we are not in a touristic place. I think it was obvious for me from the beginning, from day one. But as I tell everyone who are coming by the first time, because you can see their faces like, oh, finally we are here. And I told them, you made it. If you like it, you're going to come back. And they like it. And 80% of our customers that met us by the first time, they're coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. I mean, it's a drive, It's not that it's not like, hey, let's go around the block. I mean, it's a drive. Exactly. So it's a destination kind of a journey. If you're like on a destination journey and you're coming out to Ixtapa, what kind of are there any like little things that they should do other than come to La Tienda Grande?
Yes, I think for that you need to come between Saturday, Sunday, breakfast, lunch from 9 o'clock till 7, 8 o'clock in afternoon is a good time because we have many things open around. So Plaza, downtown Ixtapa, there are many street food vendors and like paleta, lollipops, and ice cream, this corn by the stick. It's like a old town street that you can pass by. And you can see also many kids playing, dancing there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, what happens at night in the town square on the weekends? It is. Do they have music? Do they do something special there in the town square?
Yes. Ixtapa Saturdays and Sundays is like a town party.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes we have something special like a happening when government is involved, but some others is just people like, hey, this is my turn. Let me take my truck over there with my music and let's just dance over.
Okay.
Yeah. Still, people are still like in the 90s when they go Times Square used to walk and eat and talk. That's nice and relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm finding out that different colonias have different things that they do on weekends in their town square, and it's kind of fascinating to see what they
Exactly.
all different. They all have got something different that they're doing, so that's really definitely cool. All right, well, talk to me about your new restaurant over in Versalles.
Versalles one, the new one, it's called Masame. What does that mean?
Yeah, what is Masame?
Masame, it's something really simple. You're not going to believe it. Masa, it's a Spanish word that means cordo. And me is by the Mexican style. So Masame means Mexican cordo. So
Okay.
technically.
Excellent.
The menu, it's focused on, obviously, corn, but all these traditional dishes that you can find like street vendors. Tacos, tetelas, empanadas, tostadas, huaraches, but also Masame, it's a feminine name in Japan.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to say that it's a fusion between Mexican and Japan because technically it's not. But I use some Japanese ingredients in the menu. Also, we have in the menu something called birriamen. What is that? It's between a ramen soup and a birria stew. So we made the noodles with flour and corn flour. And also the broth we use miso paste, bonito flakes, but also a lot of dried chilies to make the birria stew.
Yes.
So when you're eating and drinking this soup, you can get all the Japanese style with the miso and the broth, but also this aftertaste with the chilies, like a birria.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about a birria is that they give you that really great beef broth. And it's usually really rich, sometimes too rich, and it's fantastic. I mean, that's what makes the dish.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So, what other? Is this a breakfast, lunch, and dinner place? Is it?
For this one, so far, it's only breakfast and lunch.
Okay.
We open Tuesday to Sunday from 8 o'clock in the morning till 3. Okay. But maybe in 2 more weeks, we're going to open for dinner.
Okay.
Also, same casual stuff with barbecues and meat.
Okay. All right. Cool. So you got like, do you do chilaquiles there too? I mean, do you do like traditional Mexican there at all?
We have many traditional stuff. I didn't want to put chilaquiles there because everyone are eating chilaquiles in the
That's
morning.
true.
And
okay.
Everyone are selling chilaquiles there.
I'm stuck on it. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's fine. But I want people to taste different stuff. I want to add chilaquiles in some point, but not now.
No, okay. Well, what else you got on there, on your menu?
In the menu, I think the most popular thing are called huaraches. Huaraches, it's like a tortilla. Let's say 100-gram tortilla in an oval shape with charro beans and depend of the meat you like. I think the most popular there is pork ribs. Served with roasted tomato sauce and some pickled vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
you're
it's
making
tasty.
You're making me hungry, man. You're making me so hungry. All right. So, how do you come up with these dishes? How are you doing that? I mean, is this coming out of your head? Is this coming like...
Yeah, at the beginning, I'm just thinking about the concept, and then when I'm hungry, I start thinking in the concept, and then the dishes are coming to my mind. Now it becomes really easy to create like a dish. I heard a chef talking to some other people few days back actually, and this person, I think was a client, was asking for a new menu, and he told this lady, yes, I'm gonna take 2 to 3 weeks to develop the menu, and I said, what? Why? You can do it in a few hours, man. It's easy.
You could do it in a few hours,
Yeah.
Salvador. You could do it in a few hours. So let's talk about that. When you talk about changing up a menu, you started off with a certain menu.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the exact same menu? Have you changed it at all?
No, at La Tienda Grande, I think this is the third season menu because, as I told you, it's a storytelling. We're gonna call this like a season or new page in this book. I don't know how to call it yet.
A new chapter, right?
Yeah, new chapter.
Yeah.
But this is it. It's the third season, the third chapter, and now we're talking about some travels. So in the menu, we're gonna find ingredients like in Middle East, also Asia. From my trip to Singapore was amazing, and Saudi Arabia, and of course Dubai. But also a lot of Mexican small towns with my grandma and aunties. So we're gonna find dishes like that.
Oh, very cool. Now, last year when I came to come visit you, you were in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
What were you doing there? And let me just say, I mean, it must be really hard to find ingredients. Here you're in Vallarta, you know, ingredients abound, right? There's all kinds, every kind of fruit, every kind of vegetable, right? But Saudi Arabia, you probably had some issues, huh?
A lot.
Really?
A lot, yeah. And we developed this new restaurant in Jazan. Jazan is a coast in Saudi Arabia near to Yemen. So I decided to go because it was only 1 month.
Was it hot?
Supposedly,
Was it hot?
1 month
Salvador?
consultation, a consultancy trip to train the people there. So being there, I faced all the issues you can imagine. So first of all, of course, ingredients. Because we can find some international ingredients in Riyadh, the main city, or Mecca. But Jazan is just in the middle of everything, in the coast, border Yemen, that is a war country.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Nothing's coming through Yemen.
Nothing. When I made my list, they told me, yeah, you can find in 2 to 3 days, weeks. They told me weeks, like, no way. So this 1 month trip became a 4 months trip, just because suppliers was the main issue.
Uh-huh. So but once that got going, then there's some sort of a channel going, and they're able to make those dishes and keep it going. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to create a specific traditional Mexican place. First of all, because Saudi locals are not really familiar with Mexican food.
Hey, does anybody speak Spanish in Saudi Arabia?
Nobody.
Okay. Just checked
No.
in.
Nobody, man. Well, I met a Cuban tourist.
There you go. All right. So you felt like you were kind of
only
at
for
home.
a few hours. And no more. So this, the name of the restaurant there is Comali. So for Comali, I want to create a Mexican inspiration with local ingredients. So
Okay.
whatever I can make in Mexican with something that I can find easy. So, for example, we made these lamb enchiladas. My main idea was to make like a poblano sauce, like this creamy, bitter sauce. But getting poblano chiles was impossible.
Right.
So they had this flower or leaf that tastes like bell pepper. I think the name is akir or something Arabic. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, how's your Arabic?
This leaf that looks like a spinach tastes like a green bell pepper.
Okay.
So mixing this green leaf plus some other spices,
Spicy, yeah.
I could get some taste like poblano. So, okay, we're going to make this.
We're going to go for it. Huh?
So we create this lamb enchiladas with created poblano sauce. And they love it. They said, oh, I never imagined cooking something with this green leaf. Yeah, they're nice in a sauce.
Very cool.
And lamb is something that you can find really easy. It's like a day-by-day food for them.
Right, yeah, it's not hard to find. Wow. Was hot? Was it hotter than Puerto Vallarta during the winter time?
Gosh, it was.
In the summertime.
Yeah, there's a joke between them that they have only 2 seasons in the year, hot and hotter.
Gosh. I mean, how hot did it get? What was the hottest it got there?
Celsius degrees, I think the coolest one was 25 degrees.
Wow.
And summertime, maybe 55 degrees.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. And you Americans have no idea what that means. Look it up, okay? Google it. Here we go.
Google it, yes.
That's right.
I don't know, maybe 120 Fahrenheit?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Yes.
That's hot. But it was a dry heat, right? It was not humid?
Saudi Arabia used to be dry, but Jazan is a coast, so it was a
you're on the
point.
beach town. Yeah, so you got both. You got heat and humidity. Dude, sorry. Are you going to go back ever?
Probably, but not this year.
Okay.
So this year I want to be focused here in La Tienda Grande, Masame, and some other projects that are coming. So one by one, I'm going to develop and show you. But yeah, I want to stay in Mexico.
Yeah.
I like to be there, and consultancy is something great because make me think and be creative. But it's not Mexico.
No, but the money's not bad, I'll bet.
Yeah.
The money's good, I'll bet. Tell us about your bar. What do you have here? I'm looking over. I took a look. You got wine. Yeah, you got a nice full bar.
Yeah, I think for the wine bar, the wine list, I have probably 70% of Mexican wine and some other international. Alcohol list is a basic one. I'm trying to use like a small batch producers, like artisan creations or something. But also, if you can see all the decoration into the bar, there are all bottles or used soda cans or something like those that they belong to La Tienda Grande in that time.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
when we were cleaning, we found some boxes with all this.
That's what these bottles are.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You're going to see all these old Pepsi bottles and Orange Crush bottles, and yeah.
Yeah, some of them are late 90s, some others middle 80s. So I told my team, okay, let's wash it, clean it, and let's use it because it looks beautiful.
Very, very pretty. Yeah, that's an excellent idea. And the inside of your place is great. Now, I saw pictures of you guys building this place. Your family did this, right? You and your family came in here and got on your hands and knees and got to work, right?
Exactly. I think my mother was the most involved at the beginning because she and the owner of La Tienda Grande in that time were friends. And my mother was here, just cleaning, brushing, mopping, everything, doing everything here.
Yeah, fantastic. Tell us about your hours here. What are your hours at La Tienda Grande?
Here at La Tienda Grande, we're going to start opening from 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock, Wednesday to Sunday. Plus breakfast and lunch, Saturday and Sunday from 9 o'clock.
Okay, so don't get here any earlier than 9 o'clock, okay? When he said 5 o'clock, that was for dinner, okay? So make sure you get that right, everybody. Now, let's go into town really quick before we wrap things up here. If you had a friend coming to town, coming to Puerto Vallarta for the first time, and he didn't have a lot of time, and you didn't have a lot of time, you had to work, but you just had one place that you could take him to, where would you take him?
Oh, gosh, I can't decide. I love food, and of course, it must be a restaurant or something where I can eat something amazing. I think my first option, also because I love this friend, will be Shibui. Shibui is a Japanese experience. It's a Japanese bar, a small place in Marina. And you go and you eat whatever chef want to make for you. And it's impressive. Everything is fresh. Everything is delicious. So if I have more time and I want to take some friends to get some wine and eat good food, and I want to be there, of course, we'll be at La Fina. La Fina in El Caloso. Also, Laura and Emilio are amazing friends. And we used to cook together at La Leche in some point.
I can tell. I've been to both your restaurants, and you've got that thing going, you guys.
Right.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she learned a lot, and she's doing an amazing job also.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If you had a word of advice for somebody coming to Puerto Vallarta for the first time, besides coming to Masame or coming to La Tienda Grande, of course, what would the advice be for them for the first time? Not food, but what kind of advice? Personal advice.
If you're coming by the first time to Puerto Vallarta, come with an open mind, come with an empty stomach, and enjoy the city. But be careful, because you're gonna fall in love and you're not gonna leave.
That's
You know that.
I know that. That's a really tough word. That's just true. Any words of warning?
No, only an extra advice, a plus. If you want to invest in something or you're going to buy something, think in Ixtapa, because we still have some houses or land less than $20,000 US.
Yeah, I saw some
and you cannot
out
find
there.
that in downtown anymore.
No, you aren't. Hey, you cook. I mean, your life is all about food. But you got any other hobbies?
I was talking about that yesterday. Somebody asked me the same question. What's your hobby? And I told them, like, cooking at home.
That's a sickness. Come on. Anything else?
I know. I like painting. I like movies. Wine tasting, of course.
Excellent. Yeah.
And stay with friends.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
Excellent. All right. Give us the address and the hours again for Masame.
For Masame, it's Versalles, Vienna Street 200. It's easy to recognize. It's a yellow wall with a lot of cactus. And the schedule is from Tuesday to Sunday, 9 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock afternoon.
Okay, very good. And keep an eye out. He's going to maybe start opening for dinner. And if so, I will have the links for Masame and for La Tienda Grande. All the contact information will be in the show notes. Of course, you'll find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. I'll have pictures of Salvador and on the inside of both of the places. And, of course, some food porn. We always have to have some food porn, so we'll have pictures of these lovely dishes that he makes. And maybe even a couple of drinks that you make, too, here. Again, the address here in Ixtapa.
In Ixtapa is Ixtapa downtown. It's Juarez Street, 172. But if you're like me, that you're going to forget everything, it's easy to Google it, and Google Maps, La Tienda Grande, or any Uber or InDrive, it's easy to come.
That's right. But don't take InDrive. They chased him out of town, so it's got to be either Uber. But every time I get on my Google map, it takes me right here every time.
Yeah, I think Uber is easier and safer. I'm always using it. So
yeah. Is there anything I forgot? Is there anything that I need to add? That you needed to add?
I think it's not everything was mentioned. Everything clear. Yeah. Whoever are listening to this, see you soon, and ask for me. I'm going to be around.
Yes, you will. Salvador, I want to thank you so much for taking your time. You're a busy man, and I really appreciate all of that. Really, it's wonderful having you here to be able to introduce my listeners to your fabulous restaurants. So thank you very much.
Anytime, Barry. Mi casa es tu casa. And welcome, everyone.
All right. Wow. Thank you, Salvador. Thank you so much, my friend. Such a talented chef. I have links and I have maps and I've got lots of food porn in the show notes. Make sure that you add La Tienda Grande and Masame to your must-visit lists next time you're in Puerto Vallarta. All right. Well, that should do it for today. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Reserve your tour through him, right from his website. Maybe take a whale watching tour, remember? And remember, this is a value for value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else, so just do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, and his revitalized happy hour board and more. I have links to all of those in the show notes. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe and follow and share with a lover of Puerto Vallarta, or give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures, and more, all right there in my blog posts and show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? All right. Thank you so much to Chef Salvador Carrillo, La Tienda Grande in Ixtapa, and Masame in Colonia, Versalles. What a talented chef. What a rising star on the Vallarta food scene. Really. And you can find all of his restaurants' information in the show notes. You know where to find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. And ladies, I know I'm not a doctor, but do be sure to get your regularly scheduled mammograms, please. Early detection and treatment always is the key. And thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for y'all to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Solo camino interno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, me brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. De Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta.